Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I have somebody that's from the neighborhood. And not just from the neighborhood, but from the neighborhood and does a whole lot of what I love. That's the culture, that is the creativity, and that is being in business, right? So been in business for years. You can check the archives of the Detroit is Different to get a little bit of that story, which I'm sure we'll brush up for some other people because I really love the story. Started on Dexter with a boutique offering so much of what she still offers. So it's a little bit of music. It's a whole lot of fashion. It's literature. It's wares. It's jewelry. It's so much more. It's creativity. How do you not pour all of this in to the phenomenal, world-renowned place of Spectacles Boutique? And if you know Spectacles, you know Zana. Zana, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, always. We've been wanting to rework this one for a while, and you've been a supporter of Detroit is Different before Detroit is Different was even Detroit is Different. So ain't that something? Way back. You can check the archives of like some Detroit is Different music. Before, like I say, it was Detroit is Different, just back when it was me rapping around. And you were one of the first places to say, yeah, come on, put some of your stuff up and we'll work out some deals.
Okay.
So thank you for that. And not just me, but so many other people in music and fashion and film and literature and just being an author and so many things. You've provided space and place for Detroiters to actually distribute what they have to offer through creativity.
That's true. We've been there we started in 1984 with Spectacles.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like maybe 41 years when our anniversary comes around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been interesting.
Yeah.
And we've seen downtown go through a lot of changes.
Mm-hmm.
So and we've hung on, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And even before downtown, in the neighborhood, in our neighborhood, let's talk a little bit about that. Starting off on Dexter, what was it like running a boutique on Dexter back in the day? Young woman, entrepreneur, Black owned, when a lot of people thought to themselves, oh, you know what I'm saying, let's all focus energy outside of Detroit. You were pouring it back into Detroit.
Well, I love our city. So many other entrepreneurs were around me, you know, like Ed Bond, who had Bond's bookstore. He was just across the street. And his son now has a shop where he frames pictures for, he just framed a picture of me and, what's his name? Trying to think of the artist's name. And I should Usher.
Okay.
Usher.
Uh-huh.
So Usher came in back in October of 2024. And we were lucky enough to get a photograph with him that we have up in the store. And Eric, he framed it for me.
That's cool. All right. So starting off, let's go back to like those first iterations, because some of that still goes. But when you started, what was your approach? How did you go about getting the money for your inventory? Where did the investment come from? How did you pick a place to start to do your business?
Well, my brother, he had a shop on Dexter and Richton.
What year, what era? Let the people know.
Oh, that was in the 70s. So we started from that point. And I was fortunate enough that someone took me to a boutique show, which is what they were called back then, at I don't think it was at the Jake Javis Center, but it was close by. And that's where I started my search for products. we were also known as one of the largest head shops uh, in well, on Dexter.
Okay, head shops. What is that?
Head shop is just a store that sells flavored cigarette papers. You know, marijuana is legal now, but back then we were one of the first stores to have uh, easy, easy widers.
Mhm.
So this is where you could, roll quite a bit of
Marijuana
marijuana.
or
Yeah,
or tobacco, depending upon
or tobacco. Right,
depending
right,
upon
right.
what you wanted to do, So, so this is in that era, and that
Well, this was the Superfly era.
mm,
So a lot of guys were dressing up like dandies, um,
mm,
and wearing s- silver chains. We used to have a product called liquid silver. That was a graduated chain that you would put on.
okay, you gotta explain a lot of this right now. Break this down for me. First off, what's dandy? Let's break that down.
Well, dandy is what they're talking about at um, the Met Gala.
Mhm.
That just they just
The recent one in
the
20
recent one in 2025. So a lot of the guys were dressing like that.
and what does a dandy dress like? Where did the fashion trend even come about? When I think Superfly, I think Ron O'Neal, and I think like he had like the big, sometimes butterfly collars, the big hats that like swooped and things like that. But
Hmm.
what's explain the dandy look, the dandy feel? I guess Max Julian and the Mac kind of had a little bit of that look. It was similar, but not exactly the same.
Not exactly the same, but dandyism is something that Detroiters are known for
Hmm.
because they like to dress. They like to wear the split toe shoes, which are kind of like loafers,
Hmm.
but you know, and we started with Gandalf leathers and a lot of denim. We used to carry denim that would have different car definitions on. Like different logos.
Move closer to the mic. Move closer to the mic. It's gonna
Okay.
isolate that sound, and I want to get all this information because I'm learning here.
Yeah. So dandyism is
It's like a style that you were saying.
it's a style, but it's a way of like Dapper Dan
Mm,
is a dandy. Say for
okay,
example.
okay, all right. Now I get that concept. So it's like a guy in the high fashion. Like, would it be considered like a like metro high fashion of that era, something like that? Kind of, sort of.
It wouldn't be kind of like metrosexual or anything like that, but
Mm,
it's just be a way of a man expressing himself.
okay.
I mean, they would wear uh, these Gap suits
Mhm.
and shirts with vests, a matching vest.
Hmm.
So, people just don't really dress up like they used to.
So Sugar Ray Leonard would sometimes dress like that because I remember some of the, I love boxing, and Sugar Ray would wear like these suits that would be laid out like that. Sometimes Tommy Hearns would actually wear some of that stuff too. So I guess maybe this all look of fashion and different wears. And you talked about like liquid silver. What is liquid silver?
Liquid silver was a graduated kind of necklace
Hmm.
that would be made of silver,
Hmm.
but it would just be graduated, and it would come down uh, through your neckline.
Mm.
And this was just something that was popular at the time.
Okay. All right, so all this look and feel, these were things that people would come to this boutique and be able to kinda get the fashion and get the wares.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, and then, I have this question, as a woman, clearly, I know men will be like, okay, she would know taste, but what gave you the confidence in knowing so much even about like men's fashion at the time? Was it your brothers? Was it just, friends? How did you know the looks, the feel? How did you stay up on?
Well, I always felt I was a better menswear buyer because, I could find things that were a lot inexpensive for men, whereas women's wear, I would tend to look at more expensive things. So, that's how I got into menswear.
Okay. So from Dexter, I know your story then goes to a building that they're pouring into as, like you said, the B. Siegel building in that Avenue of Fashions, because I know a little bit of the story from before. What was the feel and the difference between those locations in offering what you offer to the community and just the times and the iterations of what you were doing in business?
Well, the Dexter location was psychedelic.
Mm,
I mean, we had a lot of, black art
mm,
in the Dexter store. Um, Maybe it would be different zodiac symbols in different sexual positions.
mm,
Um, so we would have, like, maybe a cocaine poster.
uh-huh. So it was like definitely
It was
along that.
funky, 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 funky.
Okay. Who was where did you find like a lot? Did you get art from artists that were already coming in there, or did you search and buy it? Like how were you sourcing it?
Well, I was really sourcing it from, the different manufacturers that,
Mhm.
I would find at the boutique show.
Boutique shows. And you mentioned like Jarvis and or you said something that was something else that I wanted to ask about.
Well, we used to carry hats by Eric Jarvis.
Eric Jarvis.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
So, and, I've had a lot of different designers come through Spectacles and, uh, the Dexter store.
Okay. And then to be Seagulls on Livernois, what was the feel? What was the difference?
Well, the 7 Mile store was, it was, it was, music, it was makeup, it was like a mall
Mm,
within the store. We had a sportswear department,
mm.
uh, where we sold tennis gear, we sold, let's see, makeup, and it's always been a lot of menswear,
Hmm.
but, I was thinking of, Cynthia Raleigh because she has come into her own now, uh, just like some of the other brands that I've carried, they're still existing,
Mm.
but,
But that was that iteration. On to spectacles. And like you say, decades downtown. You've seen the iterations of a lot in the waves of what's happened downtown. And one of the staples has been what you've had to deliver as Black woman, business owner, brick and mortar, retail space.
mhm. Well, right now, we're we're fortunate to have, the Gucci store right up the street from us,
Mhm.
which brings a lot of notoriety to the area,
Hmm.
and, the Shinola
Mhm.
s the Shinola,
Store and brand. Mhm.
well, the Shinola, it just came out with a Dilla watch,
Hmm.
which, is very exciting.
Hmm.
I haven't seen it, but, people are talking about it.
Okay. So over the years, you have these different locations. What was the feel going downtown? I'd say what was the downtown feel in the 80s that you remember? What were people responding to? How did they interact? What was the fashion they were looking for in Detroit?
Well, that's when fashion kinda just changed, where people were more casual, you know? We had brands like Aniche, Triple Five Soul,
Mhm.
and these were all uh, sportswear lines, uh, like Sean John, and, I'm trying to think, well,
Obviously, Maurice Malone. So this is like from that 80s, 90s time as that's coming.
yeah.
And and at this point, how are you sourcing? How are you going, getting your wares? How are you getting what comes? Because times have shifted. How do you develop the relationship with the brands that you offer?
Well, relationships are the secret, because you have to have relationships in order to get shipped,
Hmm.
so, I build a relationship, like, with Maurice Malone. I still have a relationship with him, and, he used to live right next door to me. Uh, well, he had a studio right next door. Um, so we've built upon that, and, like, they they are saying that the JL Hudson's building is coming back, but I think it'll be a different JL Hudson's. It won't be the same building. We were there when they imploded the building, so, that created a lot of dust, and when they moved the gym theater, uh, on those round barrels, uh, and we watched them shimmy that down, uh, to the new location,
Mhm.
'cause they took it by intimate domain. But you have to ask me something else.
I got you. All right, no sweat. All right, so let's ask what you're more so excited about right now in fashion and boutique. What keeps you in the game?
Well, what keeps me in the game? I guess it's, just building upon the fashion industry. Hmm, what keeps me in the game? That's a good question. I, uh, I know that, I guess sales is what really keeps me in the game,
Mhm.
Uh, just making, a living from, building from scratch.
Hmm. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Well, when you have a boutique, things are there are periods that are up and down, um, and sales is what really motivates you,
Hmm.
when you have, a product, um, like our Soul Detroit T-shirt, um, and our What Up Doe T-shirt, we, we keep pushing uh, that item because that item is our bread and butter, so we make, a lot of products that say "So Detroit." We embroider a lot of products, we silk screen a lot of products, and, this makes it l fun. We have, different products that we might tie-dye, for example, and then put our logo on them, and, it's really what I found is that you have to have something that you have control over, and, the Soul Detroit product is that product for us.
So you talk about that control, um, and also offering and having that distribution point. When do you, like, I guess, make those decisions? As I remember, I recently came with a hoodie. I like to touch base with a couple different shops. You're one of the shops I like to touch base with, meaning I go in and I patronize. The Stevie Wonder um, hoodie that I have, you have a Marvin Gaye piece. How do you know and what chances to take on, expanding your lines, what you're going to offer? Because not only do you create your own wares, you also offer lines from somebody else. When do you make those decisions on when to pour in more to the spectacles wares, like a Soul Detroit, versus opening up the gateway to offer more for other sales you can make?
Well, speaking of the Stevie Wonder and the Marvin Gaye T-shirts,
Mhm.
I hired an artist to, uh, make those designs for me. So, you know, his name is, Trey Isaac, and he goes around and he does a lot of murals all over the city, but, we make those decisions because of the need. There's also a Stevie Wonder mural right outside our door, so he was, just a no-brainer, you know, uh, to have a Stevie Wonder T-shirt. It's it's easy sell. So, and Marvin Gaye as well. So, those T-shirts were very easy to do. We're threatening to do a Diana Ross,
Mhm.
but Motown is legend, so you don't really have to think about it.
I understand. I definitely understand that whole feel. And in this space, I would say spectacles is legend too, because it's not that many businesses that it's not a lot of businesses that are staying in business for 1 year, let alone how long you've been in this. And you say even riding that wave of the sales. The sales go back to customers and relationships. How do you keep your bonds with customers? What do you focus on to, you know, keep those relationships? Because I know I'm coming and tapping in, but oftentimes I'm there. It's other people having those conversations with you, building, connecting with you.
Yeah, well, honesty is the best policy, and, you set your hours and you maintain those hours. So that's very important that they know that when you're going to be there, so setting your hours is important, and we're there from 11 to 6.
Mm.
That's not a lot of time, but it's sufficient for the space and the outlet. I'm finding that more and more people are coming through now that the Tigers have started playing.
Hmm. And that open door too. Just having that brick and mortar. So many businesses, especially in fashion, always think brick and mortar, brick and mortar, brick and mortar. I always think brick and
Well,
mortar comes with a lot of overhead.
yeah, yeah, it does, but now that we have the internet and the website, like I just got an order for a Soul Detroit, uh, baseball cap.
Mhm.
So, and then I got a recent order, it's out in the car now, um, for a What Up Though T-shirt. So those items are staples, and we try to keep them in stock so that, we can fulfill the orders.
Yeah. Definitely. And as I always say, just as the people may come in from the games, or I remember one time it was like I don't even know who it was. It may have been like it was some big country artist that was in town at
At
Ford
Ford
Field,
Field?
and I'm in your store, and even that traffic is still flowing in, and it just, I'd have never expected like that audience to connect so much to spectacles, but
Yeah. When they come down for Taylor Swift and they have on, the Swifties have on their cowboy boots, it's really, inspirational to see her doing that well. And, the people, they do respond to her. So they'll come in and, you know, pick up the heels.
I got you. I got you. So even in that, as much as it's the location, you also definitely connect a whole lot to music as well, and seeing different waves in music, and not just music, but promotions. You've provided opportunities for so many DJs to start their career, keep their career going. Um, and
Well, I guess, what I'm known for is, the Downstairs Pub and Ken Collier. He was our number 1 DJ at the time, and actually, they're going to be revealing his, sound system that he used from Heaven.
Mm.
They're rebuilding it.
Mm.
Well, they're presenting it on the 22nd of this month at the Motown Mansion.
Wow. That relationship, as far as nightlife, parties, DJs, I remember from our first interview, you talked about like gathering an understanding of when people had birthdays and wanted to do parties and things like that. But what has kept you in that game of like keeping a pulse on events, nightlife, and DJs, that relationship with DJs and dance culture?
Oh, okay. Um, well, I've worked with a lot of DJs and, I've presented a lot of them, uh, and I've had a lot of parties. So, uh, from Queens, we did a 2-year run at Queens, which was right down the street from the store. I try to stay close to the store. Um, we just did, a birthday party at Fixin's. That was really nice.
Yeah, I was in effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
So, and we had a seasoned DJ, DJ Dez, and DJ Reggie Harrell, who is known as Hot Mix. Uh, so we had 2 DJs representing us at that party. And just recently, we got open decks during the festival where you can bring your controller or your turntables,
Mm.
So that's why we call it open decks. So that situation opens me up to newer DJs. You get to meet new folks that want to be DJs or they're up and coming DJs. I presented at Hunter House. We worked with DJ Corey, who uh, we got a lot of flack for, bringing her into the scene. But now she's DJing for Drake Pfeiffer at his event this coming Memorial Day.
Yeah, the Diaspora Day.
Right.
Yep, and Drake also honored you for all of your work a couple years back when he was doing Diaspora Day at forget the place on West Grand Boulevard.
On West Grand Boulevard. Yeah. Trying to think of the young lady's name. Omisha.
Mhm.
And that was an honor. And he, he's been very influential in my success as well.
That's deep. That's deep. I know Drake will love hearing that, as Drake is one of the biggest supporters. I mean, The probability of if you see Drake 5 times and seeing him in something sold Detroit, it's a high probability with everything he's done with Urban Organic and into a whole different field of also neo soul music and live events. But you're in different pockets of culture, as you've also been one of the biggest supporters of the My Natural Hair show since we started doing that with Detroit is Different as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And all these creative collaborations and all these creatives.
That,
What do you,
that builds the relationship.
hmm,
You
okay.
know, you got to have relationships, to further you.
Okay. And classic question here. I would like for you to expand a little bit on that so I can pull more from your lens and wisdom on having those relationships and that to business.
Well, the whole thing is you never want to not be helpful. You always want to be able to, as a salesperson, you want to be able to lend a hand, so to speak. I can tell you that from my relationships, just like it might just be a barber or something uh, that cuts your hair, but you know, you build relationships by being helpful to others. You know, um, I can tell you about a barber that was across the street from me, and it was a Harry's barber shop, and he made a request of me, and when I got to the magic show, I called him up and I let him know that I had found the item and that we would have it soon. So those are the things that, you know, build relationship, and his name was Gary. So those kind of things are what happen, you know, uh,
Mhm.
to make relationships go.
And also in relationships, and connecting and building with people. I remember, I think it may have been last year, or the year before, you were speaking about Black Leaders Detroit and how that organization was something that it's like, okay, they're doing something different. Um, and your interest in being supportive of that and that mission of being a financial institution for Black businesses and self-sustain.
No, well, I was very fortunate to be a recipient of a $2,500 uh, scholarship from Black Leaders Detroit. Um, and that just really, really shocked me, that someone Black gave me $2,500.
Hmm.
So that was a plus. I've also been a recipient of a $10,000 grant from I shouldn't know those people's names. They gave me $10,000.
But another organization.
Another organization. I think it was NEI.
NEI. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So in this ecosystem of granting and building, incubating businesses, there are a lot of groups to support businesses and their growth. Being rewarded, definitely that mission of Black Leaders Detroit, leadership, Dewan Dandridge and Sharia Ayers, love Black Leaders Detroit myself. And I remember you was like, you probably know these people. And I was like, yeah, I know those people, And since then you've supported. You've been in business, as I say, you have so much wisdom and knowledge into being in business for so long. Where do you think that business that's starting today, that's looking for that where to turn, not just in finance but just in knowledge? What I guess.
Well, you read about you read about people that are doing what you want to do, their history, and then you can relate back to you know, that well, just like when we carried the Spike Lee merchandise years ago, that was back in the 90s. Um, and I used to have to go and actually pull the merchandise and carry it back to the city,
Wow.
um, on the subway.
Mm.
So, it takes a lot of heart to do something like that. And, but I was willing to, uh, to make that happen for my customers. And this was even before Spike Lee had his own shop.
Hmm. Wow. Wow. So even those trips build something, I guess, in a person's mind where now you have something exclusive.
Exactly. That was an exclusive item that we had, before uh, he had a store or even J.L. Hudson's had it or, it wasn't readily available. So that's what really put Spectacles on the map.
Mm.
It was that X cap with the little picture of Malcolm X.
Hmm. It's so unique as shout out to my friend Sterling that just did a special collaboration with the Detroit Pistons, Wes as well. And they honored Malcolm X in like a Detroit Red collection. So they brought back the X hat with like the Pistons emblem. And Lord knows, I told Sterling, I was like, for you, I'll spend this much money on on apparel that usually I like. If I'm gonna spend some money, it's like I want to spend it with black folks, but I felt like I was supporting the design in blackness. Um, in that moment, I assumed that that those that that caught like wildfire.
Yeah, it did. It was like, we were the only outlet, for the Spike Lee gear, the She's Gotta Have It t-shirt.
Mm.
I can remember some guys buying the t-shirt for one or two different young ladies,
Hey, more power to that brother. Oh, brothers.
Yeah.
you know? So, and in this, you also are, as I say, just for some of that wisdom, because I remember you even called. You're like, what are we gonna talk about? I wanted to like get some wisdom from you for not just myself, but others to kind of know where you think things are in business now and what pivots we should be looking for in growth. Cause I'm always honoring how long you've been in the game more so than how much money you make. It's a lot of people that or it's a lot of businesses that I see like big headlines, 5 years ago, but then they're not around anymore. But then it's that business that just stays at it consistently. And that's where it's like I look to like if you can figure out the equation to keep going in business, that's amazing.
Well, I think that, part of that is, just the fact that I'm single and I'm married to my business,
Mm.
So, uh, I mean, that's my baby,
Mm.
So, uh, you have to make a decision to stay in business. It's not like a choice that you have, you either have to keep on going or you have to close, So, my choice is to keep grinding, you know.
Yeah, and you've been grinding through some things. I mean, a lot of businesses talk about the pandemic. I mean, you saw, sh- you know,
Well, pandemic was it was
it
it
was
was
something else.
scary.
Mhm.
It was scary, and we lost a lot of people. Um, I think of Brenda Perryman
Mm.
because she was one of my mentors.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she would have me on all the time, all the time. I would go on her show and she would let me present my wares. So, relationships like that are what you need. You need someone like yourself does a podcast and gets the word out about your store. All those things help.
Yeah, shout out to Brenda Perryman. Con Centauri just put up a post about Brenda, and that's where I even responded because she was closer with my late godmother, Orthea Barnes, and that's how we met. And
Oh,
this was early on in Detroit is Different, and she saw a lot of the vision of what this is now before I even saw it. I was looking at it like she was like, "No, you're gonna help people," and just very warm spirit and very giving of different platforms, and has taught so much in media to so many different people over the years and how to approach it and giving platform and space for creatives,
right.
such as yourself. I didn't even know that connection, but
Oh, oh
now
yeah.
it's in the back of my mind now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
And thinking of Orthea Barnes and Millie Scott,
mm,
I wanted to give my audience more, which is why I started seeking out live entertainment
mm,
because I didn't want it to just be DJs all the time. I wanted to have bands, and we've done a little bit of that at Spectacles. Uh, we've had two, John Dixon and Marquise, the drummer. We had them perform inside the store, which is a very small space,
yeah.
you know. But we managed to get a keyboard in there, and even back when, well, there's a group called Octave One, and they came and performed. They brought in all this equipment, and they performed in the store. Um, and it was just amazing, But things like that keep you in touch with what's happening, the movement celebration, um, and Octave One. They put on a show.
I love it. I love it. So in these creative pivots and that growth, um, back to like when you're thinking about what's new and what's next, how do you how do you prepare yourself for what's new and what's next and not overcommit to something that is unknown while still keeping true to what you do?
Sometimes it is unknown. You just have to take a risk. Uh, you have to, you know, things that are unknown sometimes are the greatest rewards.
Hmm.
So when I think about my journey with Spectacles and Junior's Jazz Room on Dexter and Zana on 7 Mile, across from B. Siegel's. Um, I don't know what makes me tick, but you know, I just keep it moving.
Mm.
I keep it moving, and I try to treat people with respect. Uh, like I try to respect your time. That's why I got here at 9:30. Um, I knew you were waiting for me. So it's important to respect others,
Mm.
So I think that's part of the success that I have.
Hmm. That's like baseline wisdom of how you kind of keep going. And you also mentioned that the business is your baby and you're married to it. So I know that that's a lot of trade-offs that family and friends have to be understanding of. How have you grown in those relationships, or how have they grown in understanding how you pour into your baby?
Well, uh, you know, you don't go into business for your family and friends, you know. So you can't expect for them to definitely be there for you. Uh, but when you open up, you 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 have good hours, you have a good product, and you know, people like to feel that, things are soft. They wanna know if it if you feel it and you touch it and it's soft, then it complements what you're doing. So, I'm thinking about the products that we have in the store. Right now, we're selling a lot of, linen and, linen T-shirts, linen Johnny collars, shirts, uh, linen pants. So, you listen to your audience, and they tell you what products they want,
Hmm.
so people ke kept asking me for linen, so I went to find a resource that had linen. So we have you know, quite a few linen pieces in the store, some with matching shirts, some with matching T-shirts. So, it's a little pricey, but, you know, it's there for the take.
Okay. All right. So now I have something to look forward to this look at linen myself next time I'm there. I'm gonna look and I'm gonna want to check it out. I'll be swinging by sooner than later. Um, which that kind of gives the next question about your passion for fashion still. Do you still like find yourself looking at TV or just wears that people wear and say, okay, that's kind of cool. I like that combination. Are you still just as passionate at those feels as you were back on Dexter when you saw the feels and look that men wore and saying like, okay, I think I can master this? Or is it just one of those things where it just still feels a little bit more it feels like you've been in the game so much that you kind of know what's next, or are you still just as excited about different
Well,
fashions?
you read about things that are happening, you read about color, uh, like brown was very popular, uh, a few years ago,
Mhm.
okay? And so now it's back to black and navy blue,
Mm.
so, uh and then you always have your Timberland colors, which those Timberland boots, if you get anything to match those boots, it's probably going to sell. So that's a staple, you know, the Timberlands. Um, so, you sometimes you make mistakes though. I mean, you don't always have everything that sells, but um so it's a trial and error type of thing.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I would say I assume in retail it's definitely one of those things. If you're not always working, like, and I assume you're not gonna have that luxury too. And then figuring out, okay, if this is like the right thing on sale, or maybe you buy something and people aren't ready for it yet. And then maybe like a couple months later, people want to wear that shirt or that hoodie or those shorts or whatever, that dress after the fact, where you're like, I just had that in stock. I'm sure that's happened over the years a lot too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That happens. But, you just got to keep pushing,
Mhm.
and you got to know when to mark it down.
Yeah.
You got to move it out, so I've had people that bring me t-shirts. Sometimes they don't really sell. They may be having an idea or something. Uh,
Mhm.
Like this one girl, she has a Hustler T-shirt,
Mhm.
and it just didn't sell.
Mm.
But it might have been the fabrication, might have been the what it says. You know, maybe people weren't just feeling it.
Yeah. Maybe wrong time, like you say.
Mhm.
So, either way. So I guess we can get to a close, I guess, closer there. How if a person is interested, if they have wares or something, if they wanna connect to spectacles, how do they connect to you to even see if you're willing to offer what they have to offer?
Okay. Well, what I try to do now is pop-ups so that, we can see if anyone's interested in what you're selling.
Mhm.
So, we do pop-ups for different ones, uh, and, it's a little financial, we do a pop-up for, like, $75,
Mhm.
and, then you can come in and you can handle all your own capital, your cash and everything, and, we'll just act as an anchor store and, help you sell your wares. Like, we're going to, June 19th, we're gonna have, Dorothea Shannon in to do a pop-up,
Hmm.
and she's calling it a poetry reading. She's gonna have a bass player. So, you know, we keep trying to, you know, motivate people, uh, to do pop-ups and to, basically, just give us an idea of if this is something that's in demand.
Hmm. Okay. All right. I like that idea. With that idea, I can tell you this: we'll work this out because y'all know I like my creative collard green cook off T-shirts and stuff and sales tickets. We gonna talk about some type of collaborative pop up there. That'll be fun. That'll be fun because for
I
me,
would
it's content and it's associating with a brand that's well established in retail.
That's true. We are established. Um, it was so nice. It's so nice when people come back and, sometimes they'll tell me, "Well, I bought something from you on Dexter or something,"
Mm.
and I still got that jacket and, so, we have had a lot of blessings, just being in the same location, because 'cause we've been there for 41 years, and, we'll be having our anniversary on, July 14th.
Mm.
So we got big plans to, do a blowout party on uh, July 14th,
On
right.
July 14th, where is it gonna be at? Are you still working all the particulars out?
I'm still working all the particulars out,
Okay.
but more than likely, our new neighbors, Fixins, has been so accommodating,
It
it'll
may be there.
it may be there.
Okay. All right. I can tell you this. I'll be there and you all already have the notice of it. I'm sure that that's going to be something really, really cool. And that's before we start the cook-off. so, so yeah, I'm gonna be. I may have some pot liquor going and chasing down chefs and growers, but yeah, that's gonna definitely be something that I love to come out and support.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
You know, that's almost as old. I'm 42. It's like been around almost as old as me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I was just an infant when I started.
Mm. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. It's like I'm over here in this neighborhood down the street. Got some cool stuff going on Dexter.
Yeah, Dexter was a real jump off for me. And from the Dexter store, then I had the 7 Mile store, and, it was such a difference. The 7 Mile store, it was, like I said, we had the shoe department, the tennis department, the makeup, and the menswear. So we've we've been around the spectrum of fashion.
Okay. All right. All right. So if a person's interested, where do they connect? Where should they go? We know the store, and I'm gonna put the information up and everything, but how do they get in contact with you? How do you want them to reach out?
Well, you can always go to our website, which is specdet.com, specdet.com. So we have a great website, and you can reach out to me at spectacles@comcast.net, or if you want my number, 313-963-6886. That's 313-963-6886. You can give me a call, between 11 and 6, and we'll make it happen.
I love it. I love it. So you've been a guest on here before, so you don't get the classic questions, and I'm still working on the return guest questions, but I'm landing on this one. You can get this moment in time where you can be in attendance at the inauguration party for Coleman Young, Aretha Franklin's Welcome Back concert with Young, Gifted, and Black, or the locker room with the Detroit Pistons and Isaiah Thomas and them when they win the first championship. Which one of them Detroit experiences are you picking?
Isaiah Thomas and the Detroit Pistons.
Oh, explain why.
Zeke was he was the man.
Mhm.
So was Dave Bean,
Mhm.
but those championships downtown, it was a riot,
Wow.
so.
That moment in time, you'd have been popping champagne with the Pistons.
Right.
Okay. I'm with
Right.
it. I'm with it. And speaking about it, now that you bring up Dave Bean, another very fashionable dresser from back in the day. I assume he had some of those wares you were talking about.
Yes.
Now I get it. It had to hit me, but I'm definitely going to be pressing all my OGs. I'm going to be calling them right now and say, hey, did you have a liquid silver? And they're going to start cracking up. Tony Stovall, I'm coming for you soon.
Yeah. They've gotten a lot of press.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, about that fashion and all of that stuff just from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely. And another person that always is uplifting so much of what you've done, Terrence over there. He was at your birthday party, so.
Oh yeah, Terrence. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he's selling those suits and those prom clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They're doing a great job over there.
Definitely. Another Black business in that downtown corridor that, like I say, we got to pour in. It's a Black city. I want to see my Black businesses anchored all the time. So turning over that Black dollar is key in all of this for me.
Yeah, because you want to be brought by the swimming pool. Everybody isn't going to have you by their pool.
Mm-mm. Hey, you got that right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot of money being spent, not invested in, but it needs to be invested in us. So with that being said, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Always.
All right.
Peace.
Detroit is different. Detroit